Hi everybody at the Steinwallen community. My name is Dan Lind and I'm the game director for Hearts of Iron 4.
It seems to me that Hearts of Iron 4 had not an easy start because there were a lot of maybe a little bit disappointed fans of the third part. Nevertheless, the game sold more than 1 million copies now. How do you see this somehow paradoxical point?
Well, it's one of those things where you have a very loud minority, for example, right? And what I saw with Hearts of Iron, in fact, was that even if some people were angry in the beginning, they still played the game a lot. Right? So you have someone complaining, it's like, "Oh, this game, I don't like this game," and you go, "But you played like 1,200 hours of it. How bad is it really, right?" So it's a little bit with perception, right? Because I really wanted to take Hoi 4 in a different direction from Hearts of Iron 3. In fact, like all the Hearts of Iron games have kind of been done by different people, so that's why they're all really different as well. So I knew that some people might not like the direction. I tried to balance the things, to try and make everybody happy. But in the end, like we said in the panel, it comes down to making the game that you want as well, right? Because I don't want to make a game that I don't want to play either, right? And I thought like the sort of really narrow historical thing, very micro heavy that Hoi 3 was, kind of run its course. I didn't really know how I could improve that without, say, dropping the amount of detail, which people wouldn't have liked at all, or going the way we're doing now. What we didn't know on release was that it was going to be really, really popular with old history. So if you notice the early stuff, it wasn't that as much of it. But we started adding more and more paths, and they've proven to be really, really popular.
Yeah, that's the point. My next point, Hearts of Iron 4 seems to me more to be a sandbox game, and now also about alternative history than a World War II simulation. Was this the basic game design decision early on?
I wanted sort of to go in that direction, but so the game is designed in a way that it has a sort of simulation, and then I put things like focus trees to restrict actions instead on the AI to make it behave. Whereas like Hoi 3 was built around just AI decision making that was scripted, which is why it broke so horrendously if something started going old history, right? So I figured this would be a much more flexible way of doing it. We still have some ways to go when it comes to some of the focuses interacting in weird ways when you start going old history. And it comes from all the complexity. There's always going to be some case that we missed or something, right? But yeah, I think your question was, it's basically intentional, but I didn't really know if it was going to pan out, so we didn't put that much effort into it. But now we try and balance our effort between historical and ahistorical.
Okay. In the upcoming patch or the DLC, I don't know, fuel will be introduced. You told us here.
It will be in the free part.
Yeah. All
it's as I talked about in the panel as well. Imagine maintaining two games, one without fuel and one with fuel. How would I even balance stats on a tank, right?
Yeah.
If the tank is really good, but it requires fuel, and then you remove the fuel, like why would you build anything but tanks, right?
That was a point a lot of players wanted. How will this change the gameplay?
Fuel?
Yeah.
It will generally mean that you're going to need to think about when you use use the stuff that uses fuel, right? UK can no longer just go like, I'm going to plonk down my entire navy and then not move it, and it's just going to all be there. Because you're not going to have the fuel to do that kind of stuff. You can't run the entire navy, even if you're UK with a lot of resources overseas and stuff. It's not really practical. We'll see balance-wise. America's a little tough one because their pile of resources is so big. We'll see where we end up balance-wise there. For Japan, very much so, you're going to need to be smart with your navy. We're going to do, but to offset, because some of these nations now, like Germany and Japan, are going to have it a little tougher navally. I mean, they had a pretty tough time, but there were some sneaky things you could do, right, to get around it. We're trying to balance that up by changing some of the other mechanics to kind of benefit them. So making raiding much harder to stop and much more impactful and things like that. So So even running a small navy should be something that you want to do, rather than, I feel like the way you play now is like either I focus on navy or I don't at all.
Yeah.
So it should be very good bang for buck to just have some of it.
And is this the same point with tanks for Germany?
Yeah, so if you look at tanks and stuff, the difference it will do, right? Because now the way it works is that oil gets kind of calculated into, you know, your lifetime of fuel usage is built into like the tank that you build from the beginning. It creates a little weird thing that you can't really build the tanks during a period you don't have fuel, whereas like after you'll actually be able to build tanks and then capture a source of fuel and then start running them and stuff like that. So it's going to be less fragile, I think, that kind of stuff. So you can still kind of prepare stuff even if you're temporarily missing and then you manage to get access. I think what it will mean though is that we can make tanks stronger, because we can now limit how much you can use them and how much effectively in your army they are. With the current system, right, effectively you could then, in theory, run like a full tank army if we had made them as comparatively good as I kind of wanted. But now there's a lot of like an actual limitation, which is you need to have fuel. And you won't be able to do it like Hoi 3, where you would stockpile infinite amounts effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't really a cap, right? So instead of making it very interesting in Hoi 3, what it led to was that like people knew how much they would need to, just dedicated the time to fill that up, and then it wasn't really an issue for you anymore. We want you to still feel like there's an issue now, and we want it to feel like a really big impact on your performance. If you really go, I don't want to have to worry about it, I'm going to build up my stockpile. So I hope we're going to get that balance right. It's very early days, so like we haven't really play tested any of this yet, so a lot of stuff could change.
Okay. Can you give us a quick overview of the other main feature of Man the Guns, the upcoming DLC? Just a quick.
Yeah. So it's going to be, again, it's early, so I can't say all that much. We're focusing heavily on naval warfare. You're going to be able to design ships. You're going to be able to design them for to be good at different things. Ship composition is going to be, fleet composition is going to be more important. You're going to be able to refit fleets, which means that your old ships, you can bring them up to be more modern standard. This will actually cost you industry, so it's not like free repair or anything like that. So it'll be a trade-off. Like, do you just want the big fleet? The UK probably needs a big fleet because it needs to cover a lot of area. A more offensive nation probably will do it like Germany. Quality is going to be more important than quantity, for example. Then we are bringing in some focus trees. We're going to be focusing on democracies a bit on this. It's too early to talk about the features that will be there for democracies, but the big poster boy of the expansion is America, and they're going to be alt history paths where communists can come on the rise. There's going to be a potential for a second American Civil War against the South, where you can play both sides, of course. You'll find out more in the future about exactly how the story is lined up to it, but it's possible for them to get support from abroad. The trailer has actually, a German cruiser with a Confederate flag, so you can imagine that the Germans would benefit from doing kind of supporting this side, right?
Okay, thanks. For many players, I know the AI is one of the biggest issues of Hearts of Iron, maybe the biggest problem for them. What are you doing on this front?
Okay. I feel honestly of the Awaken the Tiger that we did huge strides on AI. That's when I really started seeing people like, I'm not sure I can't win anymore, the AI is beating me here, kind of stuff popping up. For Man the Guns, the big focus is going to be on naval AI, obviously, to match the other stuff, because honestly the naval AI is really weak and it's not a very interesting opponent. Some of that is just because how incredibly punishing making a mistake in the naval warfare is. You mess up one battle and then your fleet is gone, right? But the naval AI needs to be smart and fun and interesting opponent, right? If you're going to be playing America, which I assume in your expansion, the Pacific War and island hopping and all that. It's really important how you manage your fleets around that, right? And for that to be fun, the AI needs to be good at it. So that's going to be our main focus. But of course, we'll be looking at other bugs and stuff as well. One of the things that we've been kind of wanting to focus on that gets brought up a lot is this concept of suicide attacks. That the AI will fight something that it has failed to do already, and kind of grind itself down. So that's, I think, is an area we still want to have some improvements on, because there are some exploits going on there where you can beat the strong AI. Probably will make Poland harder to play, but
it seems to me that you're working out the problems very systematically. Battle plans, air war with manned guns, and naval warfare.
Yeah.
What are the next big points you want to tackle?
Well, that's a little early. I honestly like to see sort of what the reception is in the expansion a little bit before we know. If we put it this way, I think politics is something that could do with more love. Hearts still doesn't have a spy system either. Intel and all of that is very rudimentary. It's based on text only, really. That could be much deeper, much more interesting, integrated in everything. There is a supply. The supply system solves the problem, right? You can get cut off and all that stuff. It kind of it simulates the stuff that basically needs to be simulated, but it's not that fun to interact with. In fact, you have very little interaction. You only notice it really when you're in trouble. And I think we succeeded compared to Hoi 3, which had a much more detailed system, but not necessarily more control. But it was very, very hard to understand. I think that at least ours is a little better there. But I would like that system to be something that you yourself have to plan out. It's a real game mechanic. Whether that means, planning depots, building railways, I don't know, right? It's in the future, but I really want you, as you're planning your offensive, to also plan like how is your logistical operation going to be handled for this.
Okay.
For me, Hearts is a game more about the planning rather than the tactical battles. So those are generally the angle I want to be pushing.
Oh, interesting. What I miss is something like a map mode for ideologies. Do you think about that or other map modes?
Yes, I can't stop thinking about map modes. It's one of those things that's been like on the quality of life list for a super long time, but they always they always fall off a bit, and we don't have time to put them in. But Hearts definitely needs something maybe in the line of EU4s, like you can see which map modes are going to be like, you pick out the most important ones for you that you care about. The one I miss most, honestly, is player map mode and multiplayer. So I foresee that happening in the future. I can't promise for this expansion. Maybe, maybe not.
Okay. Is there a country that is undervalued by the players, so where you have given a lot of content but which is barely played?
It's a good question, actually. I think some of them are because they're situational. Czechoslovakia, and actually let's go with France instead. France has all the main trees, like it's the least played. But when I talk to experienced players, they always go like, "Oh, it's one of my favorites," because you have a lot of interesting choices and stuff. It's quite, it can be quite difficult, and I think a lot of people don't try it because they have this conception of they have restrictions. You set up to lose historically, all that stuff, right? But it's clearly something that a lot of people like to play. I keep hearing it as like when they say that the favorite, it's the favorite tree to play, and it's when I look at numbers, it's the least played of the majors.
Okay. And what's your personal favorite theater of war right now? Where do you like to play most?
I kind of want to say probably actually Asia after Tiger. I think we had a lot of fun stuff going on there. I hope of the next one it's going to be the Pacific.
Yeah.
I am personally not a big fan of playing America because I don't have the patience to not get into the war.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm hoping we can give a lot more freedom there in how involved you are, but with trade-offs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that Pacific War will be fun. I had some fun times in Hoi Free multiplayer and Pacific War and stuff like that, and I kind of really want to tighten that up, and I hope that's going to be the future favorite one of mine.
Okay. Yeah, that was it. Thanks for this interesting interview.
Yeah.